Welcome, friends. This is going to be an introduction, a startling graphic for you for the quarter wave vertical. As a model, I'm going to present a propagation concept in that how to view near fields and their contribution to, say, the launch angle and radiation characteristics. Well, how am I going to represent this? Well, let's just cut to the chase. Here, across the bottom, is a plus or minus quarter wave plan, and this is from ground up to 1/2 wavelength above ground. Now you notice that there's a lot of symmetries. It's certainly colorful, quite dynamic in the center here, and that's because from this point here, the 0 reference, to this point right here, and right here, this is the tip of the quarter wave radiator in this region right here. You'll notice that I have what's a very hot flare coming off the top of it, and the portion towards ground has a little bump of green, and then these blue, magenta kind of stylized region here. This is work that I'll just do a voiceover here. This is work that I performed, 15, 20 years ago on using NEC to investigate the near field of antennas to see if there was anything that would reveal a characteristic that I could carry into other designs. Notably, here we have the red flare that extends from the half wave midpoint upwards to the half wave marking, and that to me it's suggestive of a high potential point, whereas at the bottom there we have the green. I'd call that ground. That's rather facile, however, because what these numbers represent are impedance readings of the regions of space around the antenna. So, and these are expressed in terms of, I believe I use, standing wave. It's standing wave ratio of that region compared to free space, 377 ohms of outer space, or the vacuum. Air has a slightly different characteristic, but we're not going to go there. So looking at this, it reveals sort of what would be a field of discontinuity in the ether. That 377 ohms is now being perturbed by the presence of an antenna. Now, you don't even need to excite the antenna to get these fields, because the antenna's structure itself is sufficient to create this disturbance in the overall field of 377 ohms. And I've used SWIR, a representation of mismatch to that, to create these isoclines. Unfortunately, I don't know what the numbers are offhand at this point. I'll have to dig into that later. But this was simply a very short introduction to how I've viewed antennas and how I've tried to reform their configurations. That goes to the fractal designs, and how that has impacted other characteristics like, well, mismatch certainly, but the tuning, how much reactance the antennas have presented, how much resistance they've presented, that is radiation resistance. And this kind of graphic is something that I find very intriguing. It's balanced, it's suggestive, and what I find it being suggestive of is that it creates a field of a nonlinear index of refraction, such that it extends the metaphor of the antenna as a lens. So that's a rather radical presentation to many people, I'm sure. I can't prove it, but it's a feeling. Further research might reveal it's certainly further horsepower from computational horsepower is going to have to be behind this, because this was a very long project. However, that's just a footnote to antenna design, and expect other curious presentations from me in the future. 73s.